Welcome, everyone. This is another webinar of our session of Junior Researchers webinars. And today we have the pleasure to have with us some leading experts on circular economy and sustainability from the University of Tallinn, TalTech. So please let me welcome the speakers for today's session. First of all, we're going to have on today's webinar on how to create sustainable and circular ecosystems, Professor Dr. Wolfgang Gerlsberg. He is a professor at TUT since 2019. He received his PhD from Kassel University in 1999 and his habilitation for general management from the same university in 2004. He is currently employed as professor and research group leader for operations management. He has experience as project coordinator and project manager from 17 European and national projects. As for example, he is the leading manager on the Interreg 4G Future Renewable Energy project, which resulted in establishing a South Danish North German Competence Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, and for the ESF Entrepreneurship Academy in Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, and also his work worldwide very well known. Wolfgang's primary research interests are in the area of digital and sustainable operations, as well as innovation management, digitalization of enterprises, Industry 4.0, and circular economy. He has co-authored more than 120 publications, more than 30 of which are indexed by the Web of Science. 6 PhD students have so far defended their degrees under his supervision. And with him, we have 2 of the members of his team. One is Margit Paul, and she is an industrial ecologist currently pursuing a doctoral degree at the TalTech Institute of Business Administration. In recent years, Margit has also been engaged with the Institute's research team, which examines the implementation of circular economy practices and the underlying motivations across diverse industrial sectors in Estonia. Additionally, she has contributed to the development of circular economy roadmaps and local authorities, and has explored potential avenues for collaboration on renewable energy between Estonia and Norway. Margit's research examines industrial symbioses and a system that is resilient to external shocks. It seeks to identify a means of planning for symbiosis resilience through a third party. Thank you, Margit, to be with us too. And finally, another team member is Tarmo Tuisk. He is a project specialist and also researcher at Tallinn University of Technology since 2017. Please welcome the speakers for today's webinar. The floor is yours. Margit, do you want to start, or maybe Professor Wolfgang? Do you have the
word? I can start, Luisa. Thanks a lot. But Margit, could you maybe share the slides?
A moment.
Thank you so much, Professor, for your contribution today. So please, the floor is yours.
Yes, I will try to do this.
And if I just say go on to the next slide, and you can simply click. Okay, thanks a lot, Luisa. How much time do we have from now on?
Well, Professor, we have 20 minutes, 25 minutes, up to you. And of course, participants keep their questions in the chat, and I'll have the pleasure to read them to you. Otherwise, they can unmute themselves at the end of the session and answer the questions by themselves. So please, Professor, you have 20 minutes and the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, so just very briefly, this is our wider team. So not all of them are here today, of course. But you see, it's not only Margit, Tamo, and me. It's a larger group. Yeah, please go to the next slide. And the first part is about also linking a bit to what we have discussed in Tallinn recently at the ISPIM conference. So what could be the next steps? So there is a huge discussion, a huge debate already about circular economy and circular economy ecosystems, but there's still a lot to do, and the first part will deal more general, more theoretical with complexity and of circular ecosystems. Next slide, please. But I think introduction, I can quite do it very short. So it's not just an incremental change. We really need to, if you want to make the green transition happen, if you want to make the Green Deal happen, we really have to do fundamental changes. So it's not enough that we improve here a little bit and improve there a little bit. And one important approach is a circular economy, really meaning reuse, recycle, repair goods. So really trying to create a loop of goods. So have as less waste as any possible. Yeah, next please. And this is maybe one of our main. Somebody is asking if we share the presentation. I think so that we could do afterwards, Margaret. Or anyway, I think Louisa, you have already the presentation, so we
Yes,
share.
it's on me, Professor. Thank you. You can continue.
Okay, super. What we suggest to because this whole circular economy discussion started rather applied, rather practical. There were also some more technical issues, contribution from engineers, contribution from applied economists. What we would suggest, and I hope we have a bit time later on to discuss this idea, that we need a more ambitious theoretical framework to understand and further extend this whole discussion about circular economy and sustainable transition. And what we suggest, and it's not our own invention, we for example, we looked a lot into Frank Dissen's work, but of course we have then also looked in the literature on circular economy a lot ourselves. And what we really would suggest that we need a so-called multi-level framework. So of course we need the macro framework, meaning regulatory policies, works, taxation incentives, legal incentives for circular economy. So everything what politicians can do, everything what can happen on a more political level. But then we also need something what we would suggest the term meso levels. So where we look, for example, into supply chain practices, also regional local networks, associations, local regional innovation systems. So all what has happened in specific regions, in specific municipalities, and in networks, supply chains between different actors in this field. And of course, as we are from business administration, what we would stress is, of course, you need also a micro level. In our terminology, micro level is mainly the single companies. Yeah? That's the single businesses who actually have to make this really happen in a specific ecosystem. But micro can then even mean more. It can even mean we need certain individual persons, individual managers, individual stakeholders who either in the company or outside the company who really move forward the circular ecosystem and the circular transition. So this is our suggestion. Also, if we structure, of course, we are mainly empirical researchers, but if you want to structure, for example, survey data, if you want to structure interview data, also documents, policy documents, we always should have in mind these three levels. That's also what we try to do in our own empirical research, and in a minute you will see some examples. Our main discussion points that we really have to look at these different levels to understand the full picture. Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to just a moment. I am trying to find my mouse because suddenly I don't see it at all.
Okay, super. Margaret. And what we would say is this at least the major research that we are mainly interested in is really this to understand this of different business and policy levels. Of course, there's a lot of detailed research. There's a lot of research on drivers and barriers, for example, of circular ecosystems. There's a lot of research on what signals can do. There's a lot of research from single regions or also countries, but we really would this broader, also more theoretical framework to really sort our empirical findings. And this is also something we work together with Talan, all the PhD students. Talan is not here today, but he was this bigger research group. And we call it a holistic transition process. And for us, it's important not only have a cross-sectional view, not only have a moment, a glimpse of a moment. We want to understand basically also how in a more longitudinal sense, in a more long-term perspective, how this transition really can happen on these different three levels. Next slide, please. And what we usually do and what we would also suggest, but of course can be always afterwards, we would suggest a multi-level framework, but also a mixed methodology. So for example, what we have done in our research in the last years, we have started with quantitative data surveys, mainly in Estonia. We also discussed the results, also not only collected the data, we did a lot of workshops, a lot of stakeholder workshops, a lot of company workshops. We have also tried to get feedback both from businesses, but also from politicians on our findings. And then we have also said we want to go more in depth with this research. Usually in social science, meaning more in depth means having some more qualitative data. So also we did a lot of interviews, we did a lot of focus groups. I think in total, meanwhile, probably we have done more than 70, 80 interviews, and mainly with companies, but also with policy stakeholders, with business associations, with unions and so on. And then we always try, having collected these quantitative and these qualitative data, we try to kind of multi-level framing and see what is necessary to change on the different levels. Of course, you also can do it the other way around. So there's not one fixed methodology. Some prefer to start with qualitative data. We start with more explorative interviews, with more explorative focus groups, and try then the findings of these to develop a more quantitative survey design, for example. Okay, but in any way, we would really say it's good to have different perspectives, not only interviews or not only surveys or not only documents, but try to kind of types as data as possible. Next slide, please.
Okay,
already Margit.
Yeah, for a couple of slides, I will add my part also, as is my supervisor, and my PhD topic is about uncovering the resilience of the industrial symbiosis, which is organized third-party organization. And we do find it very relevant topic at the moment, because industrial, by its definition, means that the outputs of one producer's to producer, and this is for industries to become and to follow the green transition goals. But I found out already that this is not only about the materials, but also changing all available resources like technology, and that means basically a new business model for industries, and where can friendly production. And also if we have there are more than two industries working together and exchanging all those available resources, then we can say that this is an ecosystem, and it benefits also the environment. But now there's a possibility that government is how the industrial symbiosis can be. There's a possibility where the industries themselves find a way how to make some co-work. But is the possibility, what if there is a third-party organization who is actually organizing all those symbiotic relationships? So it means that bringing the industries together and sharing the information, collecting the data, which is definitely important thing. And there have been some tests all around the world also, but not many. So the wrap, what I found is that if we look at the industrial symbiotic, about the industrial symbiosis, it is actually focusing on very many technical issues, and very of them actually from the perspective of the economy or organizations. It means that we have a possibility to do that at the moment, but how to do it is another big question, because there is no metrics to assess those relations. And there is no metrics to assess how symbiotic is one organization. So now we are trying to figure it out, and through the life cycle of the different factors, and find we usually call as find out which of those could be also industrial symbiotic practices. So when we have this defined those, then there are many possibilities how to build up roadmaps or suggestions, and to go on with other surveys to wider the view of the economy, industrial from the perspective of economy and also ecosystems. So this is very, very shortly from my side, but I would hand over back to Wolfgang to talk about the LEAD program also.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Margaret. Just a very short example, because we did a lot of studies, we did a lot of empirical work in the last 3-4 years, but we have also developed some training materials mainly for micro and small companies in a framework of a European Erasmus project. And I don't want to talk very much about this, but this is just the perspective really for our managers, mainly also company owners in small companies, how they also can develop their companies in a circular and sustainable. What would benefit especially the conditions of small companies or even micro companies, mostly in these projects. We're always short on time, we're always short on resources, we're always short on competences and skills. So for small companies or micro companies, you really need very tailored tools to kind of support the sustainable development and circular development of the company. Yeah, next please. Yeah, it's a very short overview. So bit different from the usual research in this project. We did not only, we started with interviews in all the participating countries, and we also did national reports. What is the specific situation in the different partner countries? But then we also really tested our in a couple of workshops and sessions with companies. And I think one main takeaway from this from testing was that you have to be even more practical, even more to the point, even more oriented in the real needs of the companies than we, because our team basically was researchers. Of course, we also had consultants who had experienced companies, but during our practical tests of the training materials, we really realized if you really want to move the companies to change something or do changes together with them, you have to be very simple, not simply meaning in a sense that it's not that you have to explain enough, but you have to make it very, very practical. Okay, next slide. That was already yeah, and again we did a preparatory study, so this was more the empirical work, and this is something you could have a look on your own. I don't go in all the details now, but we produced quite a practical handbook, 70 pages. And what we realized, this is of course managers also can look into this handbook, but it's probably more like this handbook, it's not only in our projects, and it's in many similar projects. So what we can do, we provide train the trainer materials or background materials. And then really a person who is very, very competent in working with companies that then has to find out what parts of the very lengthy material are potentially relevant for a specific company. So, but there if it's all public available, you can have a look yourself. I think, Margaret, on the next slide, we also have the link. No. So sorry, if you go back, is there a link anywhere to the handbook also or not?
I think it is.
But yeah, but it doesn't really matter.
But pick sites and then send them to.
Yeah, maybe get the link. But if you put LEAD and Erasmus Plus in your Google, you will find it also anyway. But yeah, maybe also we get the link and then send the slides again to Luisa, because I think we also see we have some backup slides, but probably not all of them are relevant after. We will see after our discussion today. So, but that would it be from our side. Yeah, this is also once again the multi-level framework, just in another form. Here the example of renewable energy. So you have to look when you for example when you want to promote. It's not only about the regulatory and the political framework, it's also, of course, that there is enough renewable energy available in a specific country or a region to really have an effect. But I think that would it be from our side. So we are looking forward to your questions and comments.
Thank you so much, Wolfgang, Margit. It was very insightful, and I think this a very complex work that you have done. Actually, if participants allow me, I would like to start with a question asking you which were the challenges when empirical work, if practitioners were aware of the circular economy in their industries. So if you can it more how you cope with the challenges during the empirical work. Please give us some tips.
The main challenge, and we did a lot of our, not all, but a lot of our empirical work in Estonia. So, and if you do normally a survey in Estonia, you get a return rate of maybe 2%. Yeah? Even if you send out reminders, and also we had also a letter from the Ministry of Economic Affairs, and we did something in social media, but it's really difficult. And I think from my experience, it's not only in Estonia, it's similar in all the Baltic countries. It's partly also the same in Hungary, so in many of so it's really difficult if you want to do surveys on your own. Of course, what you can do, you can buy a survey, so which is often done, but also for a PhD student, that is very costly if you don't have the project money to do so. What worked very well for us, so we had a list of the companies, and then we called them, and we called several hundred companies. Yeah? And we did not only call them one time, we called them at least 3 times. So, which is, of course, and we had the money, we had the resources to do so. We had also the people who could do this in Estonian, but this then worked quite well. So then we ended up in one study, we ended up with a return rate of almost 20%. But that is the big trouble always if you want to do quantitative. If you either you find good secondary data, I mean there are statistical agency data, so either you find secondary data or it's really demanding to do such a survey. Of course, yeah, sorry.
Also, before entering with a quantitative survey or the questionnaire, it would be useful to make sure what is the language barriers you might be meeting with. Because in our area, we have many people speaking also Russian language, which meant that we had to actually translate all those questionnaires. And for the one survey, we had one questionnaire with 100 questions. So it had to be translated very well, but also we have been flexible with English speaker companies.
Thank you much. These are great tips actually, for us researchers. So thank you so much, Wolfgang and Margit. And please let me read another question that is chat. It is Serge asked, to summarize the whole work, what can you say as top 3 goals that were achieved and top 3 points that's still in progress? Thank you.
Okay, so what have achieved. So from the more practical side, we have really collected. We collected a couple of hundred with quantitative responses. Meanwhile, we have collected, probably more than 80 interviews. But also from a more theoretical, it's also this. This is just an example, but we have a lot worked on this multi-level framework. I mean, this is not extremely new in itself, but it was not done so far really for circular economy. So we really have tried to and now we use it in quite different publications to have also a theoretical framework that fits to our, that helps us to interpret our empirical data. But even we have worked a lot on a micro level, also even trying to track in some more psychological factors. Recently, we have worked a lot. What are the motivational factors? So what motivates single managers and single stakeholders in companies to really go on this way? Of course, there's a lot of regulation. At some point, you have to do it. But there's also, you need some personal interest also. That can be, of course, it can be monetary, but it can also be, for example, in some family-owned companies, there are specific family values, or in some micro companies, the owner has some also personal values. That is also something we have started to work a bit more in the last 1-2 years. And then I think the second part was what is still open. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. We are still also looking, of course, we are still further developing this framework, try to find also new elements. But we also, so far we have worked a lot on Estonian data, which is interesting, but we see also many editors want data sets. So now we also try to do some more work. For example, we have done something in the Baltic states. We will try to do something more in Finland, in Sweden, maybe also in Germany, because that's where I'm from. And we also try to get a larger frame for our data.
So it means higher, right?
But also better in quality. So it's always when you do one survey and then you see what also is not working. For example, we did one project for the ministry, and there we had an extreme long and complex survey, it was to reach then these 20% return rate. So it's also that would also be my recommendation then to PhD students. I mean, it's always really a compromise. If you want to do something with surveys, it's really a difficult compromise. Of course, you want to have more than 2 pages, but if you have 20 pages, then it gets difficult. So just from personal experience, if you have something like 6, 7, that can still work. But of course, it's not only the length, it's also how relevant is the survey, how easy is it to answer. So there is a lot of, many, but still there's still improvement to even, especially also in this area of sustainability, circular economy to get even. I also have worked quite a bit with secondary data. So we had the data from the World Bank, we had data from OECD. The challenge always is with secondary data that never reflect exactly what you want. So it's also always a compromise. You have a certain idea what you want to research, but then you have to find an indicator, and you always have to when you have secondary data, you always have to simplify your approach to make it fit to the data. So there's no ideal way, I would say.
Thank you so much, Wolfgang. And we have a question from Ines. Ines, if you raised your hand, you can unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can Very well.
I'm pretty here about all this. I'm myself from Latvia State Real Estate Company, and we are currently working on a circular economy project. It is a pilot project, which is classed as innovation. We're just testing it. But the key idea is that we are recirculating the materials from the deconstructed objects that we have. And my question is whether you have looked into public sector challenges in value chains, because from what we have investigated, we are practitioners, we are not researchers in this particular project, but we have researched private sector less constrained and much less, challenged regulation and restrictions, comparing it to the sector. And there is a whole new load challenges coming in, creating this value chain, testing the demand for the materials that come from deconstruction. So even if, for sure, if there is a top-down push from the government, at least in Latvia it is, but I know that Baltic states, they're going along the lines. We are really, really similar in political thinking in terms of circular economy. There is this push to investigate and to create those value chains for circular economy. At that moment, public property, we're a state-owned enterprise, so our objects are public property, and materials, the reconstruction of our objects are still public property, are really difficult to reintegrate in new objects which are not public sector object. Possibly have looked into these issues, and if not, great potential for the research in my view, because we are into a few scenarios, and the easiest probably is donating it through the particular organization has got. And we are looking also at international examples of how value chains are created between countries. Say if that would be a network of Baltic states, public sector organizations that are ready to, reintegrate them in their own objects. That even within one country, within Latvia, if we this network of cross-ministerial collaboration, when constructed, have a list of materials that have got guarantees value, but they have to be somehow put back to use through those value chains, which are non-existent, and in the case of public sector are really, really limited. So possibly you've got any comments, and you could elaborate on this problematic.
Yeah, we are also not in these projects, but we have a new project, also practical projects. It's about smart cities, and we have to work together with, it's one city in Latvia and two Estonian cities and one German city. What we see in probably also in ministries, because there everything is political, and there must be some kind of personal motivation for the people. Because usually in a company, you can motivate people by also basic incentives, even they get some special salary if they take on some special task. But in the public sector, you really try to find people who have some kind of personal interest in this. Because either they want to further qualify themselves, they want to develop their competencies. It can also be, of course, something more tangible. They say, okay, I would need certain experiences get up to a better, maybe, or even a different position. But that is it's really hard. We are working with these four cities, and it was really hard to find our current partner persons there. So we were handed from one to the other. Okay, now we have the feeling that we found four persons, one in each city, who is really interested in that also from a personal level. Because for them it's very hard, and I mean, even our university pays for the city, so they could get some extra salary, for example, but it's very hard in their system to make this happen. So of course there are some ways you can do it, but it seems to be more important that you really have people who are interested in that, and they see it somehow as a form to further develop themselves also. I don't know if this makes any sense for you.
No, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, we've worked smart cities before, but now we're that's a separate pilot project. And maybe to continue, there is another question, which is of the process, because at the moment, we haven't from A to Z as just yet, but we have an indication that the cost of reintegrating the materials back into our own objects, or trying to auction, because this is the only way how you can act upon property, or donate. Well, donating is a separate case, but it is a costly process as materials, because we work with physical. Physical is always very costly. So have you possibly, researched a business case of the circular economy? It is doubtlessly, green, forward thinking, is sustainable, but it's hard to argue an innovative approach when it is really costly. There is no break even when there is no business case there. Have you looked into that possibly?
Not ourselves. We could do because we have colleagues who at Taltic who work exactly with this thing. They work with construction, also with the reuse of construction materials. And I mean, we don't work so much on the product level, but I think that's exactly what they are doing. So I cannot answer the question right now, but we could put you in contact with them.
That would be great.
Yeah, no problem. What they are doing. Yeah. As also to write, of course, I think I'm not sure, but yeah, partly they even work also with public sector organizations. Yeah.
Oh, that would be great, really, because the regulation can be that different in Estonia.
We just weeks ago have submitted together with them also an Interreg.
Okay.
Not so much in the proposal itself, but the people who were involved were very knowledgeable into this. But that, we can provide you with the names. Maybe even via Louise, or we get your email.
That would be great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much to both. Margit, yours, so maybe everybody can see, when we talk. We have also another question. It's, you can unmute yourself and ask the question, or if you prefer, I can do it for you. So please, Irene, can you, Irene? Well, and not hear us right now, but she's asking, I would like to ask you for clarification on the question of the 3-level perspectives. Can the integration of these 3 levels be defined as an ecosystem view, or is a multi-level perspective necessary for the analysis of ecosystems, especially for the analysis of business ecosystems? Thank you very much. This is the question.
Yeah, I think so. It's probably twofold, I would say, because normally, what I know and what we normally see in the literature is that ecosystems are either on a local or on a regional level. So when you only study the ecosystems themselves, you don't these more political, legal factors on a more national framework. But of course, I mean, if you look at the very small states like Estonia, it can also be that there is even a national ecosystem. So it depends a little bit. I would say in larger states, if you really want to have a more holistic view, it's not enough to. Depends, of course, on your research questions. So, but in very, I don't know if you agree, Margit, but in very small states, if you only look at the business system, you probably would also catch the regulatory and the legal. Depends a little bit what is your geographical context. But I don't know, Margit, what would you say for industrial symbiosis? Is it only local or?
Margit, we cannot.
I already forgot. Yes, we can look it from different levels. I mean, there are very regional, but also the cross or if we are international possibilities. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you we can approach the ecosystem from these perspectives, right? Micro, and higher level. Is it that complex to do that? What do you think?
I mean, so to a little bit to sort out because in the ecosystem you always have different actors also a bit on different levels. So to sort who can do what and who cannot do what and who is responsible for what. So in this sense, it's but one framework. But in our experience, if you look at these levels, it helps you also to catch a wider set of potentially influential factors. Yeah.
Maybe I would add that if we are talking about the industries, then it depends very much about what kind of a companies or industries you have around you. I mean, if it's industries like here in Estonia, some of the industries are somewhere in the countryside, then most probably you don't have the infrastructure to build some kind of an ecosystem, but if you stay in the city or somewhere, then definitely you have better opportunities. If you're next to border of another country, then you have totally different opportunities. And what is the thing that you would like to, maybe if we're talking about the industrial symbiosis, then you probably have some kind of a residues what you would like to exchange with someone or to give to someone. Then it depends what kind of a residue it is and how much does it cost. That is there any logical and economical reason to sell it to another country or to another company? So there are many, many questions, and this is like every company did on their own also to analyze it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all our speakers and time, Wolfgang. And I know that it's a very difficult time right now because you are on a holiday time. So I really want to thank you, heartfelt thanks for all the work you have shared with us, the time that you dedicated and the efforts that you have dedicated to and I really much for your contribution. And of course, I'm able to share all the materials. You can find all this on the website. Well, actually, you can also reach out to my puppets at ispim.org. I can put you in contact, of course, with our speakers. And if you want to learn more, please reach out. I will be very happy to help. Thank you so much for a very, very enriching session. Thank you for all your time. And well, we'll see you after this month and the next session in September. Keep following us on our social media. Thank you so much for your contributions.